CDBG meeting to order. For those that are unfamiliar, we're talking about the various plans that we can submit for the Community Development Block Grant for 2022. Ms. Catania has put together a list, which everybody has, of potential properties. We need to choose Plan A and Plan B, or Project 1 and Project 2. My thought has always been to continue with the Edgemont Avenue Revitalization Plan. Anything that we can do to improve our business district, to make it more appealing as folks are coming in and out of town, that they would want to stop at some of our local businesses. And it would also include a master plan for this corridor. The second plan would be the housing plan for the borough. We've discussed that last month. This plan has not been selected numerous times by HUD. It is not one of their favorites to support financially. The third plan would be the Economic Development Plan, Revitalizing the Business District, which is a study to bring businesses to the area. We have very few openings in our business line, so I'm not quite sure how that would fit. So I'm open for thoughts on CDBG.
If I may,
Please.
Since I put this thing together, my initial thought, the revitalization plan is something that we've talked about and we've been trying to get through the county for quite some time. One of the things that I know is happening is that the planning department, their planners are extremely busy. So if we're going to do this, then I would put as part of the application that we would go out to a consultant, for the consultant to do it versus waiting for the county. Because if you remember, it's the planning department, it's Office of Housing and Community Development that's actually making recommendations to county council. That's the first thing. The second part of this is the reason we submitted, the first time we submitted it was in 2021. That housing plan was not accepted. The county has done a 2035, as part of their Delco 2035, has done a housing section of that comprehensive plan. I actually sat on that task force for that housing 2035. I think there is some improvements, some study that could be done so that we understand what the demographics are looking for here to keep your housing stock up, to make sure that you have quality, affordable housing as well as other housing through the community. That I know is not favorable, or isn't one of the favorable ones. But in looking at all of this, the master plan, the revitalization plan to do streetscape, etc., along the corridor is a good one. But if we can't get quality businesses here, and I'm not saying that the businesses here, for the most part, are quality, but I'm not so sure that they are the best use for what you're looking for as a community. So this would be a study that would evaluate what you've got, what you would need to improve so that you get some better services and businesses in the community. And that's the only thing I could think of. I should tell you that there's about $3 million that county's going to get from HUD. Usually about half of that goes into operations and other things, so we will probably be seeing about $1.5 million total for CDBG. That's just based on what has been done in the past. They very rarely do a lot of planning for the very reason that they'll take maybe 2 or 3 because of the time constraints that they have on their own staff. I don't know of any other projects. You are limited because you do not have any low mod areas, eligible areas in your community.
What
which
is
is a
low
good
mod?
thing.
It is a good thing.
What is low mod?
49% is under the threshold of
Low income.
low income. So, and they give you a map. We don't have a map because we don't have any. It's done through HUD, and I've given this pitch before, and I'm gonna give it again. When you get survey for the census, we've gotta push the residents to fill it out and send it back in, because that's what they use for these kinds of grants. That's how they determine what's eligible and what's not eligible. So, I think the more we can tell people, they're not looking for just you, they're looking for your entire community and what kind of monies are available to your community. So, we can do planning projects, we can do historic renovation, we really don't have a historic project.
Amoco Station.
That's still,
Yeah, I don't think that
can we make it an
qualifies.
In-N-Out Wawa? That would be great. That's still under issues.
Yeah. So, if anybody has any other projects that you think will qualify, I do have the criteria in the office. I didn't bring it with me. I didn't know that we would go through all of that. But I do have a listing of various projects. That's why I thought of the economic development plan. It's a little different than just putting aesthetics on the corridor. It's looking at why aren't people coming here. I think we've got to look at parking along the corridor. If you don't have parking, people aren't going to come because there's no place for them to park. So taking a look at it from a different angle and not just, I guess I'm going from failure. If you look, Darby Borough years ago, they did a Main Street project, and it was quite a bit of money that the county put into their business district. They didn't get any takers. There's reasons why they're not going there. So they refaced the properties. They did a lot of work, and it just didn't take. So I think we need to look at that before we get to that point. So anyway, that's my spiel. Anybody have any other ideas?
Can the woodlot be considered?
No, it's
No.
not within the district. We're sort of, I hate to say, landlocked into a specific area physically. And that only occurred in the last couple of years because the census has changed our incomes.
We were able to get
Several other
if you
projects
notice
for
the
years.
lights that are down the other end, we were able to get those merely because it was immediately adjacent to the city of Chester, and that area in the city of Chester is eligible. So when we put it in, knowing that we weren't eligible for it, the county Office of Housing Community Development actually found a way to get it done.
Nice. It was very nice of them.
Who
So,
owns the
yeah.
property at the end of East Chelton? There's a huge parcel of land at the bottom of East Chelton going into Avon.
I have no idea.
That's just sitting there doing nothing.
Is that Pico's?
I have no idea. It's just
West Shelton and
East Shelton.
Avon? East
East
Shelton
Shelton.
and
you go
Avon?
down East Chelton all the way down.
Over East Shelton.
And it merges right around and does a bend towards East Avon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I
know
always thought it
Pico,
was part of the park.
Yeah.
Pico has several parcels.
And I think there are gas mains and things
Yeah.
like that run across there.
Yeah.
I might be mistaken on this one piece, but
Yeah, I
I mean,
think
if
so
you're looking
too.
for land, I mean,
Oh,
there
yeah.
it is.
I don't know that Pico would sell it. Or we could use it. We could borrow it.
Pico just sent a letter that they are not interested in letting us, what do
Use-
they call it, co-use?
Yes.
Any of their
Right away.
properties
Right away.
anymore. That was a wonderful letter.
Does anybody on council have any other suggestions than these that would fit into the criteria?
Well, I believe in energy efficiency. Can we get money to make energy efficiency improvement on the borough building? No, it's for.
You
it's
can't
for-
do anything in a borough building.
It's for the development of the community, this block
No.
grant. That's what.
Yes, you can't do anything with development. okay? But you absolutely, even if you had eligible areas, the eligible area, can't do anything in buildings that have government operations.
Okay.
So your firehouse, we don't own the firehouse, but typically a police station, any kind of building like that, you cannot utilize community development block grant funds.
And you're looking at the improvement of the community as a whole.
So I
So
thought, the other thing that I thought of, and I don't know whether, I have to call it the OHCD, is ADA accessibility. And I don't, for some reason, I have it in the back of my head, and going through the criteria, I couldn't find it. You don't have any eligible areas, but I think that you may be able to do ADA accessibility. So you'd be able to do some ADA ramps throughout the community to make sure that people are able to get from, across streets, etc. I'm not sure of that, but I have it in the back of my mind that I heard that at a CDBG meeting last year. Do you remember that?
No, but
I have to call Phil Welsh, and they're not in the office full-time, so it's,
With the ADA accessibility, I know there's some properties that don't have sidewalks. Could that be incorporated with an ADA accessibility?
I don't know, and that's what I need to find out. I
I'm
don't
just,
know whether we wanna-
as far as looking
Yeah.
at that, to make it more accessible, because like, if you're going down this side of Elbon, once you get past the school, the sidewalk stops.
But that was always the homeowner's issue once they go into selling the property. They had to incorporate a sidewalk.
I'm gonna tell you that when
But doesn't the
Typically,
amount of
what-
sidewalk also help with our liquid fuels fund?
no.
No? Okay.
No. Typically, when you tell a property owner that has no sidewalk, that you're putting sidewalk in, they usually come out in droves because they don't want to have to shovel it,
And
and they don't want to
repair
have
it.
to maintain it.
Well, we
So-
talked many years ago, and Vice President Bull, this is one of his favorite topics, is putting some kind of
Walkway.
bridge, thank you.
Oh, I love my bridge.
I know you do, and that's what I thought about last year, is, we talked many years ago about putting a bridge over Edgemont
Yeah,
Avenue.
that's not going to happen without us taking 2 blocks out and
I
buying
tried.
all those properties. I looked
I
at that.
tried.
We can go across the
I
back.
try,
It's
every
perfect.
time it
It's
comes
a
up.
1% grade. We
I
can do
try
it.
for you, I truly do.
So I will say that I don't see too much difference between 1 and 3. I think they're very similar plans. In general, I think getting funding to have plans for our community, long-term plans, is a good request of dollars. We just received planning money for the park, and to have, or for green space, I can forget exactly what it was, but to have money for a plan to figure out how we can make the community better and then implement it over, 2 to 10 year time horizon, I think is a good request for money. It may not be the most exciting plans, but either 1 or 3 would be fine for me.
Vice President Bull?
I was extremely interested in number 3, basically because the economy evolves every single day. And a couple takeaways I would say is the biggest transportation company owns no cars. The biggest property owner or management company, Airbnb, owns no properties. So I think there's probably a way for us to, through a development plan, figure out a way to either capture those dollars that are somewhat virtual or make spaces that are perhaps a little bit more open to somewhat of a business development thing, even if it's a place where people can develop their businesses here as far as that. So that might be a viable plan.
Councilman?
I agree with the economic development plan number 3, especially off of the recommendations of what you said happened with Darby Borough. You know, making sure we figure out why we need, or what we can do to get more businesses here before we just,
Put money into it.
put money into making it look nice.
Councilman, have a view on that?
I say keep on going with the Edgemont property, with the lights.
Okay. And also, can I point out with number 1, this would include a master plan for that corridor. So it's not just the development of the continuation of the plan, but it would also incorporate a master plan, which I think is important. Again, planning.
Let me clarify something. This
Okay.
is, none of this is putting more lights up along the corridor.
Right.
That construction can't be done as part of any of these projects. It can certainly show that on the master plan, but there's no construction that will be done, okay?
Councilman?
Go with the, reviving the business district.
Okay. Mrs. Guy?
Number 3.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, you've heard us speak of various plans concerning the upcoming CDBG grant funding for 2022. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, or projects that you'd like to add to this? Hearing none, we'll move on. It looks like council has recommended number 1 and number 3. Both are master plan incorporating ideas and studying our business districts. And I would ask that if everyone's okay with number 1 and 3, that we will incorporate that into the resolution that we will have tonight. Move forward and ask our engineer to apply for our CDBG funding for 2022. We have a deadline of January 7th.
Which of the two's priority?
We will use priority, sounds like everybody wants priority 3, and then priority number 2 would be number 1, which is sort of, both of them seem very similar, because we need a master plan for the Edgemont Avenue for the future.
This came up last week, but I'd like it to be talked about again. Can you explain the last sentence? No improvement projects are eligible this time with the current census results.
I'm sorry?
The last sentence of the first paragraph.
Okay.
No improvement projects are eligible at this time with the current census results.
Again, we talked
We
about
talked about
that.
this last month. But
We
you
talked about it last month, and we also just spoke about it. The census, our economic salaries have gone up, so that we are not eligible, only in certain areas would be close to the city of Chester, where people's finances are a little lower than the average of the members of all of our community. It knocks us out of the ballpark for funding.
The demographics of the borough of Parkside are taken from this census that is done every 10 years. So when they map the income, they don't find any areas that are considered low mod and eligible for community development block grant money funding. So that's why I have what I have. You can do a planning project. We might want to consider starting to list properties that we're seeing that are on the verge or could have the potential of becoming blighted and slum properties. So we have that list. If we have that list, then we can look at other opportunities through community development block grant. So that's really the crux of why I put what I put. The last time in 2021, or 2020 was, in 2020, when the new mapping came out, there were still questions, can't we do, and they were all construction projects, and those kinds of improvement projects aren't eligible under the program.
And we're hopeful, even though planning projects are not historically picked, that, we can apply, and if they say no, they say no. But you can't get anything if you don't apply. So, Ladies and gentlemen, if you have no other questions for council, on council, concerning CDBG, we will then close this hearing and move on. Take a few seconds to shuffle your papers again, and we'll move on for our council meeting. Thank you.